Hey there. Welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to be looking at 40 Years in the Wilderness Part 1. We'll be looking at the departure from Egypt all the way up until the spying out of the Promised Land. It's going to be an exciting one. Let's dive right into the Word of God. Now, before we jump in, just a quick reminder. This is the first part of our series on 40 Years in the Wilderness. Make sure to stay tuned for Part 2, where we'll look at the latter half of their journey. Also, make sure to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already, so you do not miss any future uploads. All right, let's jump into the Word of God. First off, we have to go back to the book of Exodus chapter 12 because we've got to understand why the Israelites were even in the desert in the first place. Back then, the Israelites were living in Egypt, but they had been suffering under the oppression of the Egyptians for a long time. So God raised up Moses to go to Pharaoh and demand that he let his people go so they could worship him, Yahweh. But Pharaoh refused, so God brought plagues upon Egypt. Plagues such as turning water into blood, causing boils to break out on the Egyptians, and even killing their firstborn sons. Eventually, after all these plagues, Pharaoh finally relented and let the Israelites go. Exodus chapter 13, verse 21, "And the Lord said unto Moses, By day the pillar of cloud shall be over the tabernacle of testimony, that it may be a sign between me and the people of Israel. And when it is lifted up from above the tabernacle, then it shall come to pass that I am with them. And the pillar of cloud was over the tabernacle by day, and the pillar of fire by night, to the very sight of all the people of Israel." So here we see that after God led the Israelites out of Egypt, he promised to lead them by day with a pillar of cloud, and by night with a pillar of fire. This ensured that the Israelites knew that God was with them and that he would guide them to the promised land. Then in Exodus chapter 14, the Israelites came to the Red Sea, and Pharaoh changed his mind and decided to pursue them. But God intervened and miraculously parted the Red Sea so that the Israelites could escape. Exodus 14, verses 21 to 22, "And the Lord said unto Moses, Stretch out thy hand over the sea, that the waters may come back upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots and horsemen. So Moses stretched forth his hand over the sea. And the sea returned unto its former state as the waves came back. The Egyptians pursued and were drowned." Here we see that God demonstrated his power over the natural world and protected his people from their enemies. This event showed the Israelites that God was truly with them and that he was capable of delivering them from any situation. After crossing the Red Sea, the Israelites wandered into the wilderness of Shur, where they soon realized that they didn't have enough food to eat. They complained to Moses, who took it to God in prayer. In response, God provided for them a food called manna, which came from the sky and looked like coriander seeds. He also sent quail birds for them to eat. This miracle is recorded in Exodus chapter 16, verses 4 to 35. Then Moses said unto them, "This shall be a thing to be kept in store for the children of men, to hear from your children and from your children's children. How in Egypt the Lord took you out of bondage, or in the wilderness, how he fed you with manna and gave you water from the rock." So this passage tells us that God provided for the Israelites in the wilderness, not only with water and food, but also with signs and wonders. God wanted to show his power and faithfulness to his people and to prepare them for what was to come. Another significant event that happened in the wilderness was when the people became thirsty and complained to Moses. God told Moses to strike a rock and water will come out of it to quench the people's thirst. This miracle is recorded in Exodus chapter 17, verse 6. "And Moses did so, and water flowed out of the rock, and the whole congregation drank." From this passage, we learn that God cares for the physical needs of his people. He doesn't want them to lack anything. If we trust in him and obey his commands, he'll provide for us in miraculous ways. After this, God led the Israelites to Mount Sinai, where he gave them the 10 Commandments. This event is recorded in Exodus, chapter 20, verses 1 to 17. "And God spoke all these words, saying, I am the Lord, thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, nor any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor worship them, for I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, punishing the children in the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, but showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. From this passage, we learn that God desires a close relationship with his people. He wants them to put their trust in him alone and to obey his commands. The Ten Commandments provided a framework for living a righteous life and for building a nation that feared God. However, while Moses was receiving the Ten Commandments, the Israelites became impatient and turned away from God. They demanded that Aaron make them gods to go before them, and they gathered all their gold and silver and cast it into the furnace. Then they danced around the golden calf that Aaron had made and worshipped it. This event is recorded in Exodus, chapter 32, verses 1 to 35. And when the people saw that Moses delayed coming down out of the mountain, they gathered themselves together unto Aaron and said unto him, Come, make us gods which shall go before us. For as for this Moses, we know not what has become of him. And Aaron said unto them, Break off the golden calves that are on your breasts, which are on your sons and daughters, and bring them unto me. So all the people broke off the golden calves that were on their breasts, and Aaron melted them in a furnace with fire, and cast them in the shape of a molten calf. And they bowed themselves, and they danced before it. From this passage, we learn that the Israelites quickly forgot about God's deliverance and turned to idolatry. This angered God, and he was ready to destroy the Israelites and start over with Moses. However, Moses interceded for the people, reminding God of his promises and asking him to forgive them. Finally, after 40 days on the mountain, Moses came down with the 10 Commandments and confronted the Israelites for making a golden calf. He reminded them of God's power and his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and he told them that they must choose to follow God or face the consequences. Numbers chapter 13, verses 1 to 33. And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, Send thou men to spy out the land of Canaan, which I give unto the children of Israel. And Moses sent them out of the wilderness of Paran. All of them were men of war, heads of the children of Israel. And they went in and spied out the land for 40 days. So here we see that before entering Canaan, God instructed Moses to send spies to check out the land and report back to him. However, when the spies returned, 10 of them brought a bad report, saying that the land was inhabited by giants and that the people who lived there were strong and warlike. Only Joshua and Caleb brought a positive report, but the people did not listen to them. Instead, they rebelled against Moses and God and refused to enter Canaan. This event had serious consequences for the Israelites. God was very angry with them, and he punished them by making them wander in the wilderness for 40 years, until all the people who had complained had died. Only Joshua and Caleb, who had brought the good report, were spared and allowed to enter Canaan. And that concludes our look at 40 Years in the Wilderness, Part 1. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. Remember, you can support us by liking this video and subscribing so you don't miss any future uploads. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.